Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are very fortunate we have a panel discussion where we're going to focus on Gen Z. These are our panelists. I'll do a little bit more introduction once we start. Up there, you can see there is a link, the Google to ask a question. So as you think of it, you can use your phone and you can put in a question and we can address it at the end of the presentation. Okay, so I'm going to start because we have a packed calendar for you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to introduce you to the panel members first, and I'm going to give, actually first I should introduce myself because I think most of you know me, but I'll give you a little bit of my background. I'm Shelly, I'm an instructional designer here at CCM. I've been an educator since '99 with teaching experiences at the high school level as a special education teacher, as well as an adjunct faculty member for Montclair, as well as Centenary. I've worked with faculty colleagues in course development and professional learning opportunities in higher ed, and I've been doing that since 2006. I have a bachelor's of science from Rutgers in exercise science and sports studies, a master's of arts and teaching from Montclair, and right now I'm writing my dissertation for my PhD program for teacher education and teacher development at Montclair as well. So that's me, and we'll start with my youngest panel member. This is Jillian. She is a fourth grade student at Catherine A. Dwyer Elementary School in Rockaway Township, a school that functions with no walls. She has been in the Gifted and Talented program called TREX for almost 2 years. Jillian also likes to read, learn, play music, and play sports. Jillian has been playing music for about 4 years on the piano, 1 on the clarinet. This is her 6th year playing soccer and 3rd year on the Rockaway Township travel soccer team, the Tornadoes. She has been playing basketball for 4 years. Her favorite teams to cheer on are the New York Giants, the Green Bay Packers, the New York Mets, and the Yukon women's basketball team. She also likes to create fun projects out of small, unusual items for fun, and she likes to write short stories just for fun. By the way, they wrote all these bios by themselves, and I asked them to write in third person, and they did. So, then you have Amber. She is a 6th grade student at Copeland Middle School in Rockaway Township. She graduated from Dwyer Elementary. This is her 3rd year in the Gifted and Talented program in the school district. She plays the flute, the guitar, and just started playing the ukulele. In her free time, she plays for 2 travel teams. In the fall and the spring, she plays soccer for U13 Hurricanes. And in the winter, she's on the Lady Rockets, which is the Township travel basketball team. Amber likes to hang out with her friends, read, play sports, learn, and cheer on the New York Giants and the Cincinnati Bengals. And Elisabeth, she is a freshman at West Morris Mendham High School. She is very active in high school as a member of the Relay for Life team, the school store manager, the stage crew for the drama group, and the light and sound club. Outside of high school, she is a Juliet Girl Scout who has recently attained her silver award and will be working towards her gold award. Elisabeth attained her, she loves to help out at her former middle school's outdoor learning center, as that is where she completed her silver award for recataloging all the gardens and updating the map. Elisabeth frequents her church's youth group on Sundays. In her free time, she enjoys baking and reading, as well as relaxing with her friends and engaging in creative activities with them. Then we have Alfonso. He is the principal at Copeland Middle School in Rockaway Township. He has 14 years of experience both as a teacher and administrator. His career span stops at Bloomfield and Bridgewater Raritan High Schools as a teacher and Nutley High School as a vice principal. As an educator, his main objective has always been to help each child achieve his or her best. At Copeland, he, along with his faculty and staff, are creating an environment where students reach their potential through collaboration with parents, teachers, peers, and administrators. Alfonso has a BA in Social Studies, Teacher Education, and a Master's of Arts in Educational Administration from Kane University. Dennis was unable to join us today. He is dealing with something, an emergency at the school. So Barry's going to speak a little bit to the next Barry Haines is the Director of Technology for the Parsippany-Troy Township Schools in Parsippany, New Jersey. He served in similar roles over the past 20 years for Montclair, Flemington Raritan, and Mindenboro, New Jersey school districts. He has also served as an adjunct faculty for Fairleigh Dickinson University and Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Prior to working in the K-12 education, Mr. Haines worked for over 10 years developing music and educational technology products in the editorial departments, such as McGraw-Hill. He holds an MA and MED from Columbia University Teachers College and is currently pursuing an EDD in Organizational Leadership Studies from Northeastern University. So those are So these are just some of our objectives. And so we'll talk a little bit about the characteristics, some of their profile, some of their learning experiences and expectations in terms of their learning. And then we're actually really going to talk a little bit about their technology experiences and expectations, and a little bit about their preparedness. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give you a really brief overview of some of the characteristics. Most of this information I got from what they call the Generation Headquarters. I do have resources later on in the back. I will be more than happy to share the PowerPoint with you so you can grab the resources that you need. So Gen Z, they have a lot of other names, iGen, and you guessed it, is because of the iPad and iPhone and all that. Centennials and Founders, and there's a few other ones. Believe it or not, they've been in college for about 2 years. We very much think that we're still working with millennials, but we have had Gen Zs in our schools for about 2 years. As you can see, their birth year is 1996. And the Generation Headquarters used 9/11 to denote the start of Gen Z. The way they do generations is not just 20 years, they really use a life experience that to signify the start of it. So right now they're saying from 96 to the present. There's some discussions about Gen Alphas, but right now I'm going to take their definition. This is what we're working with. And they start with 96 is because the individuals are about 5 when 9/11 had occurred. So for them, it's really just a history. It's not in memory yet for them. So that's how they use 96. So who are they? They are the most diverse group that we have in the US. And they are also very accepting of diversity. One of the TED Talks by the CEO of the Gen Headquarters said that they don't know that there isn't diversity until they walk into a room where diversity does not exist. So they're very they have very accepting of the differences in individuals. And it's interesting that for them, it's also that they always know that there was a black president in the U.S. as well. So for them, it kind of plays to their the diverse population as well as this acceptance of diversity within the various individuals. Technology here is what they call their lived experience. So what they do is really part of their entire lives. It's the way they communicate, it is the way they have social experiences, it's the way they consume information, it's the way they create information. So it's really part of their lives. If you think about it, most of them don't know that social media didn't exist. So they really live their lives online, and if they have phones, on their smartphones. So so technology really is just central to them. Same thing like us. TV and radios. That's part of our lived experience. So like this mobile technology is really part of their lived experience. Some experts were saying that distinctions between millennials and Gen Zers is in part due to the parenting styles of their parents. And you'll see millennials, most of their parents are baby boomers, and Gen Zers are the Gen Xers, and millennials are their parents as well. So right now what they said that since most of them are adolescents and kids at this point, they said there's some early indicators that the Gen Zers are increasingly self-aware, that they're self-reliant, they're innovative, and they're goal-oriented. So there's some characteristics. This is a quote by Jason Dorsey. He's self-called the Gen Z expert. So what it is that at this point already, the Gen Zers have really, for example, changed the way we communicate. So very often they'll FaceTime as opposed to picking up a phone, right? And they are really significantly changing our retail industry. So those of you who keep on, taps with the news. So essentially, they're disruptors. They're disruptors to the way we live, the way we learn, and the way we teach. So now I'm actually going to turn over to our experts in the panel, and we'll start with Alfonso.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, hi, I'm Alfonso, principal of Copeland Middle School. I'm going to start out with the question. Has anyone ever seen the movie with Robert De Niro called The Internship?
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal movie. And that movie reminds me of kind of where we are in education at this point. So those of you that haven't seen it, Robert De Niro is a 70-year-old retired businessman, and he takes a volunteer job at I believe it's an advertising company. And he walks in, he wakes up, he's a man of routine, he has his tie on, his shirt is neatly pressed, and he walks in, and I forget the actress's names, but
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. He walks into this company that she self-started. When he walks in, there's people riding bicycles, everyone has headsets on, there's music playing, and like The Wire, there's no walls in the place. It's a completely non-traditional place. And the company is struggling to a degree because the owner is struggling because she potentially might go public with the company, and she's afraid that she's going to lose the identity of the company. Robert De Niro is on the verge of breakdown because everything with him, papers go in place, everyone walks on the right side, and it's two worlds in a sense colliding. I'm going to ruin the movie for you. Essentially what happens is she doesn't sell the company. It winds up becoming a big success. And Robert De Niro finds happiness, as does Anne Hathaway, because there's this happy medium, which is, and I hate using this word 21st century because we're 20 years practically into the 21st century, but it's that new versus old. I tracked my teaching career. I started at Bloomfield High School, and I remember coming out of college and learning how to teach. Right? You learn how to teach, write the notes on the board, kids copy the notes down, talk about it, any questions, have a nice day. And my first experience as a teacher that I remember was in the winter months at Bloomfield High School. We had to stand out by the doors and we had to harass kids. Take your hats off, put your IDs on, everything, we'll Walkmans away. And I always had a problem with that. And he said, we're treating kids like prisoners. So if we're going to treat them that way, they're going to act that way. I grew up in Bloomfield, never left Bloomfield. That was my educational experience. I taught at Newark East Side, Miss Tereski, who was wonderful, but that's how we did it. Then I went to Bridgewater Raritan. If you're not familiar with Bridgewater Raritan, I think it's 12 buildings. Spent the bulk of my career there. You walk in, there's kids riding skateboards in passing. There's virtually no teacher visibility on the walkways. It's an open campus. Kids are wearing hats. Kids had cell phones even in 2003, earbuds, the whole nine. And it was completely groundbreaking to me. Like, where did I go? Mars? But it was amazing. I walked into a classroom and the expectation was, you are who you are. You want to wear a hat as long as it doesn't disrupt the educational environment, that's fine. You have a cell phone, that's wonderful. You're listening to music in passing, fantastic. And truthfully, it was an enlightening experience. I went to Nutley High School as an administrator, and I walk in, I was a vice principal in charge of attendance, and it was no ID, get sent down to the office, no pencil, get sent. So kids were getting thrown out of class for not having a pencil. And I introduced this revolutionary concept to the teachers. Give them a pencil. Right? The goal's learning. Right? We have, our students have cell phones that are more powerful than the computers in most classrooms. Let them use it. I'm thinking in 2004, polleverywhere.com. It's the same thing as this, right? We did this. They don't relate to this. So when I took over my own building, and Nutley as well, it's the mind shift, and it's parents, teachers, administration getting on board, and we have to decide what type of world are we preparing our kids for. Because if we're preparing them for what I have here, this world doesn't exist anymore. This world is gone. This is the world, instant. Google, okay? Want to know, I was a social studies teacher. Battle of Gettysburg, okay, great. I believe it was fought in 1863, right? Awesome, you know it. What skill does that reinforce? How's that going to help our kids in the future? So at Copeland, I've been here for a year and 3 months, I believe, a year and 4 months. And we've taken on a lot of new challenges, specifically teaching the Gen Z population. So what we did, and I'm sorry, I have Vanessa Waxman, educational technologist in the building. It's really at the forefront, tech-wise, in the building. We started an after-school club called TV Studio. Essentially 2 iPods and a little microphone, and we bought a green sheet, a green screen, if you will. So we took a couple students, we asked them to put together a PSA and just told them, inform an audience as to who the Gen Zs are, how do they learn. That was the only direction we gave them, and this is what they put together.
Hi, my name is Luke Murray, and this is Generation Z. This generation ranges from 7 to 21. Here are some of the things we like in terms of how we learn. Learning using technology. Learning using programs such as Kahoot, quizzes, BrainPop, or WeVideo. Google Classroom. And Genesis, so our parents can see our grades whenever they want.
Hi, my name is Evan. I'm going to also be teaching. We also have high-tech computers and Chromebooks to let us do what other people couldn't have done in past generations. Our phones help us a lot due to apps such as Rosetta Stone, which helps us learn different languages.
Like Japanese.
We have the great search engines Google, Yahoo, and Bing that can help us with any questions we ask.
Yahoo!
How do teachers use technology? Use it for everyday school activities such as teaching, emailing, grading. We use websites to have fun using them.
Hey guys, this is the after memeing of the Gen Z video that we just made. This is Jake Stevenson. He sadly didn't get to be a part of it, but he wanted to, so we're adding him in. This is Evan Van Sickle, and this is Luke Murray. Hope you college people in college learned something. We just wanted to make you learn what we liked and how we like to learn to help your students and stuff. Yeah, bye guys.
So to kind of piggyback off that, to a degree, looking at that was 3 kids with one objective, with an iPad, roaming the school free, and that's what they came up with. Now we look at people of my generation and older, right? First piece is support. Okay, 1, in our buildings we need the technology. 2, we need the training. Okay, to know how to use it. 3, to bring the Robert De Niro back into the story, right? Because we all look at the roaming the campus with an iPad. We have cell phones. We have all these things. But where the Robert De Niro comes in, where's the expectation by the classroom teacher? This is what's acceptable. This is what's not acceptable. Here's what the ramifications or the consequences are if you're on a Chromebook and you're reading ESPN.com or posting something inappropriate. But it's treating students like people, not like prisoners. Some of our teachers this year, and it's going to be a big goal for us next year, is something called the flipped classroom, which is nothing new. We're really experimenting with it in math instruction. Anyone here not a math person? Me, I am not a math person. I'm sorry if I offend any math teachers, but I cannot sit and listen or watch someone model a problem for me for 47 minutes and expect to learn it. So what the flipped classroom does is very simple. That part, that instructional piece, happens at home, it happens on a computer, it happens on the student's own time. They can rewind the teacher's instruction. Oftentimes the teacher provides other resources for those students. Those students take an online assessment, usually through a Google form, if you will. That teacher goes in the next day knowing exactly where the students are struggling, determines the learning groups right there. So then you talk about individualized instruction. Well, how do we get there? Well, you need the technology, you need efficiency, you need the training to know how to do it. So some of the things that we have, we use the full boat of G Suite for education. All of our teachers are on Google Classroom. You always hear, blended learning. Is the Chromebook or the laptop, is it taking the place of the worksheet? It's the same thing. Are they just doing worksheets? Because that's it. If it's not done properly, that's what it becomes. A worksheet teacher and a worksheet school is the same way with the Chromebook if the practice doesn't change. And the big thing is stepping out of that comfort zone. The step is having someone like Ms. Waxman in the building that can guide a teacher and guide the student through that. The thing is this, kids are coming prepared with this. It's allowing us to connect on their level. So I have one more thing I'm going to show you, and the thing I'd like you to focus on is this is a monthly newsletter we do. I do my newsletter digitally now. I'm in the library, packed house, because we have an after-school support club on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Same group of kids. They did this, TV studio. I have a full boat. I didn't give you the full broadcast. I want you to just look at the kids' faces and listen to the kids in the background. One thing, we ran Park in 6.5 weeks at Copeland Middle School, 6.5 weeks. We had virtually 0 Chromebooks. No, last year. Last year we did it in 6.5 weeks. This year with Chromebooks, 500, not even one-to-one, we did it in 6 days. That allows us, the teachers, to do their job, right? It allows teachers to teach, allows teachers to interact with kids. You can't do that without the technology. So that was something that they set up here.
Hello and welcome to CMS News. I'm Christian. And I'm Alex.
Today we are fortunate enough to interview Mr. Gonella, our principal of Copeland Middle School.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Gonella. To start off, what new changes are there at Copeland?
All right, so we have a lot of new changes coming in. We started out with changing the seating policy in the cafeteria. We are moving towards free seating, meaning students no longer have to sit by team, but they're able to sit where they like. Also, we've injected another 100 Chromebooks into the building, so we are getting close to 450 devices coming in, and you're seeing the teachers really using this as educational tools, flipped classroom, the Google Classroom, and things of that nature.
What's your new policy on water bottles?
The new policy on water bottles is that students are now allowed to have water bottles in class. We want you guys to stay hydrated. We want you to be healthy, and we want you to be responsible with them. And, there's a lot of added responsibility for students in the building, and we really want you guys to be mature about it.
Is there anything else about the cafeteria with the new policy?
Well, I'd like to, see students stop flipping their water bottles. It's becoming a little bit of a distraction, and it can be a little unsafe. What do you guys think about that?
I think we're about to find out soon.
We're going to find out soon?
We're going to find out.
Okay.
Thanks, that sounds good. Oh, wait, sorry. It's your turn. Is there any information about Park that you would like to share?
Well, great news. Park is going to be an 8-day window. We have cut that more than half. So that means that you guys will be in your classes longer than you were in years past. And that's because of the new infrastructure we have and the new Chromebook technology that's been infused in the building.
Thanks, that sounds good.
We have heard that the school is receiving a shipment of new Chromebooks. Is there anything else you want to tell us about them?
The only thing I want to tell you is that I'm extremely proud at how our teachers are using them and how our students are using them. They're being used as an educational tool, not as something to replace the instruction in the building. So I hope we can get more of them. I'm excited to see the things that you all are doing with it. Here's, case in point is our TV studio.
Before you go, would you mind taking this water bottle and flipping it?
And what's the objective? What am I supposed to try and do here? Am I
You're
trying
supposed to land
So
it,
you're supposed to land it,
and then you're gonna land it.
except land it.
Yeah, you just want it.
I don't understand why this is fun, but I've never done it before, so let me see what all the rave's about. What does everyone think out there? Can I do it?
Sure.
Ready?
Do it, bro.
Oh!
Right,
One more time, one more time.
One more. I'll get it this time. Ready? Oh! This is kind of fun. Hold on, we'll do it again.
Yeah, see.
No one's leaving. We're going to miss the buses until Mr. Gonella gets this.
Third time's the charm.
Can I do it 2 in a row? 2 in a row? Hold on. One more.
Street.
Oh!
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Gonella. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time on CMS News.
That's what learning's supposed to be. Learning's supposed to be fun. It's that growth mindset. It's kids learning by making mistakes. It's giving them the parameters and having them see what they can do. And then that's when the real instruction takes place. Thank you.
We're going to continue with Barry. He's going to talk a little bit from the high school lens, and his focus is going to be on the educational technology, as that's his area of expertise. And you're going to see me do signals because our panelists, they can talk forever because they're very passionate about it.
Wait, I represent that. Do you want me to say a little bit about what Dennis should say first, or do you want to just go right into it?
Why don't you go ahead first, and if we have time, then we can touch upon what Dennis would
Okay, so I'll try to cut it short.
Yeah.
So as I thought about coming here today and talking about educational technology and implications, a lot of things went through my mind, but I tried to cut it down to 4 different topics. And so they are kind of from a quasi-futurist. So we know where students are now, and I'm going to go into that a little bit too, but where will our educational institutions and our students be in 3 to 5 years? Because I think understanding that and understanding where we're going can inform what we do today and our practices today. So that's one. Implications for big data, because I think we underestimate, you want me to use it? I think we, oh, that's right, we're ready. I get 2 more minutes now, thanks. Implications for big data, hello. Because I think we underestimate what big data is providing currently to K-12 and what big data can provide. A new topic in the past 9 months, which is really important for us as educators, which is how do we teach media literacy in the age of alternative facts? And number 4, implications for higher ed from what we're doing in K-12. So what you see on the screen behind me is a cover from something called the New Media Horizon Report. It's put out every year. They've been doing it for 15 years. This year's was put out by a panel of 59 educators from 10 different countries. I'm sorry, I need to put my glasses. From 18 different countries and 6 continents. I've been following it for about the past 7 years, and their predictions and their trends of what's happening currently in education, of where we're going in education, not only is usually spot on, they're about 80% right, but it's informative as you step back and get a sense of what we do in the classroom and how we teach our students. So this year, some of the trends, these aren't trends, I'll get to trends in a minute. Some of the adoptions that are currently happening are maker spaces, which if you don't know about, have really taken over libraries. They're opportunities for students to use a lot of manipulatives and to be self-directed in creating things. Sometimes they're directed by teachers, but a lot of times maker spaces are just students, they want to solve their own problem in creating something out of lots of different types of materials. Online learning, you heard a second ago about Google Classroom. Those are types of blended learning, whether you're using Google Classroom or Blackboard or a content media software. That's happening pretty frequently in K-12, online and blended learning. Robotics has been going on for years. I'm going to skip over that because I think every Northern New Jersey middle school and high school has a robotics team. Virtual reality, which is the picture here, which is really taking over. Oh, I think I did. Bear with me a second. Oh, sure. I left my Google Expeditions glasses in my car. Darn it. So they come out, Google Expeditions started selling glasses, which are made out of cardboard. They're pretty cheap, and you put a cell phone in it, and you can have 30 students on the same view. So you can take, as a science teacher, you can take your students on a virtual field trip of the moon, for example, and all 30 students are looking at VR of the same thing, while the teacher directs their instruction, can use arrows, and they can write in and say, we're going to explore this crater next, and take a virtual field trip. You can do that on the moon. Microsoft has put them out for, actually Google, for the moon, for underwater investigation, for science explorations. So that's something that's not just out there. A lot of schools are buying these kits currently for VR and explorations in the classroom. And then 4 to 5 years, artificial intelligence and wearable technology. Some of those things we're seeing currently too. So trends, as far as what this report says, on the short term, and this is something that changed, which wasn't on the horizon even last year, but coding as a literacy. And as the new media horizon report says it, as the number of computer science jobs are expected to proliferate in the next 5 years, there's a need for students to learn coding and programming skills, which also have proven to bolster problem solving, creativity, and critical thinking skills. And the amount of jobs that you see opening up in the United States is huge. So in K-12, we need to address that. We are actually, in our K-5 curriculum, we have students do an hour of code through code.org. At our middle schools, we offer full classes in coding. And at the high school, the math department offers this wonderful coding program where in our high schools, we have one-to-one iPads. And students actually create programs for those iPads and push them out as apps. So that's something that is integrated pretty well already, even in the short term, as it says. Students as creators, enough said. Collaborative learning, and I want to read another quote here for a second, because as far as collaborative learning, collaborative approaches in the middle school, you just heard of some, and then progress to the high school where they direct their own team projects with minimal teacher invention. Collaborative learning refers to students or teachers working together in peer-to-peer or group activities, and is based on the perspective that learning is a social construct. I'm going to deviate just a second because from my EDD, so I'm firmly in the history books as far as a Dewey pragmatist. But if you looked at me nowadays, I'd say constructivist, interpretivist, which means I believe students create knowledge based on their social settings and based on their view of the world. Reality is based in their mind and how they construct their own knowledge. But we have a huge impact on that as educators. We provide them with that social environment in where they learn who they are in the universe. That's part of our goal. And that, in their world, comes through technology. Longer term, and these are harder things to solve, but redesigning learning spaces and rethinking how schools work. You can see down here, some of the repeats. And then over on the left, I do want to cover this. These are wicked hard things. This is not just through K through 12, but through higher ed, advancing digital equity. I'm not sure that we've solved that as a society yet. Scaling teaching innovations, solving the achievement gap. So when I worked in Montclair, there was about a 30% achievement gap, and it's been there for 20 to 30 years. Technology could solve it, but we're not using technology to solve it yet, whether you're in K-12, and I'm kind of assuming in the higher ed either. And also personalized learning, which we're getting better at. So there are a couple of...
Yeah, I'm going to actually cut it real quick.
Yep.
There is a higher ed, the Horizon report also for higher ed.
Thank you.
Yeah, as well. So
And I'm
they're
gonna,
very similar, actually.
Yeah, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. So just a couple of slides to give you an example. So, and press it one more time. No, that's good. So this is a 7th grade classroom at Brooklawn Middle School where all the students have Chromebooks. They're working in groups of 4, and the teacher actually coded this as a virtual learning field trip to the American Museum of Natural History. This was a preparatory virtual field trip to the students going on the real field trip. And she called this as an escape the museum. So she created 4 virtual classrooms for the students to solve. One was a puzzle, one was a diagram of the entire museum where they had to go through different floors and levels. One was of the exhibits, so they understood the exhibits before attending the museum, and there was another one. Each of these groups then had to work, and they were competitive to unlock each of these rooms. They unlock being in this classroom. You showed the students' passion and motivation to unlock these classrooms so they could learn more. It was just contagious. And that's the kind of environment our students really are used to. Being challenged in a group, solving puzzles, and actually taking real field trips to Brook and Moore. They went out to the American Museum of Natural History, they came back, and my favorite story was, you should have seen how the students knew how to navigate the museum, because they really learned where the floors was, where the exhibits were. They knew the museum backwards better than they had ever learned, with paper and pencil or just even visiting the website. They really knew this. So that was kind of gratifying to hear, and that's an example of the kinds of environments we're trying to provide for students to synthesize learning better. You can go ahead, because I know that I'm skipping down to, okay, implications for big data. So stepping back a little bit here, you know, when you take out your cell phone, when you listen to iTunes, when you go any place now, it's all connected to a huge server farm. We call it the cloud, but let's be realistic. It's a huge 17-acre football field server farm someplace in the United States. This one happens to be in North Carolina. They're run by Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Apple, and they all have huge server farms. My favorite fact is Amazon does not make any of its money from selling you products over the web. They make all of their money from leasing server farms, right? Leading to people like Pearson, who run Park, which is good to understand. It's not just Pearson, it's a lot of software, educational software that we use relies on server farms. These aren't things we could do, these aren't environments we could create even 5 or 10 years ago because the national infrastructure, the global infrastructure wasn't there for us to crunch big data and to help student learning. So I wanted to bring this up because Park only came about by the National Governors Association in the United States in 2010. New Jersey adopted Park, which, and thank you for introducing that, the Partnership for Assessment, Readiness in College and Careers. In 2014-15, we started implementing it in New Jersey. In 2015, we started sending Park scores home to every 3rd through 11th grader in the state of New Jersey. And by 2020, it's expected to be a mandated test, or else you can't graduate high school. So Park, in my mind, in a lot of people's mind, is a formative assessment, though. It's done one time a year. You can't really crunch the data or use the data for just-in-time student assessment. It's not real time. So a lot of school districts, in anticipation of Park or helping our students prepare for Park, have put in a lot of formative assessments. In Parsippany, we use a couple of programs. One's called Link It for English Language Arts, and one's called Go Math, which is used for math. And those two programs are used formatively, routinely now, by 3rd through 5th grade teachers on a daily basis to get an understanding of how every student is performing in class, to crunch the data using big server farms, and to give the teacher daily feedback on, okay, so Johnny didn't understand that fraction. Maybe there's another problem I can give Johnny so they will understand that. Meaning students are used to getting individualized instruction through digital devices. Okay. The third thing I wanted to cover a little bit is, and if you could go ahead, I hate reading PowerPoints. I think you can all read the first quote, so feel free to read the first quote. Now, I'm always skeptical of studies, as I am of anything on the internet, but this kind of makes sense, that unless we start teaching this in school, students don't have the skills to discern the bias of what's alternative or fake or real. And I think we need to take the challenge pretty seriously in our media, in our computer labs, in our English language arts, in our projects, in our research projects that we have with students, that we need to help them critically evaluate what they see and always question what they see. The second quote, I'll give you a second to read that. Is so true, because I had to go, when I was doing research projects going through high school or my first years in college, I went to a card catalog, right? Research was scarce. It was really hard to find this stuff, and I always thought, wow, if I could just tap into the World Library, where all students now have this huge, huge pipe of information that's overwhelming, and the skills they need to are far different from what we needed to learn. They need to be taught how to discern information and find just the information that they're interested in with authoritative resources and research so they can create their own. And the last one is some of the, I think some of the skills that we expect should be written into our vision and mission statements to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and participate with media in all its forms, K-12 and higher ed. Those are really our goals nowadays for our students. And a shameless plug, by the way. So on July 26th and 27th in Parsippany-Troy Hill School District, we will hold a Google Summit. And the topic of the Google Summit is developing critical literacies, what students need to know in a fake news world. You're welcome to attend. I'll have more information. Shelley will have more information. Thank you. Okay, go ahead. And last. So some of the issues that we deal with in K-12 aren't different than higher ed. They include improving digital literacy, helping students create and collaborate together, integrating formal and informal learning, blended learning, flipped classrooms, virtual realities. Those are how our students learn and create and synthesize information for themselves. Difficulty solving the achievement gap. Like I said, I think we're making good inroads in Parsippany-Troy Hills and K-5 certainly with individualized instruction and adaptive and analytic learning, where the software understands where the child is and gives them harder programs with the teacher socially engaging that child in the classroom. Advancing digital equity, and then harder, really hard, managing knowledge obsolescence and rethinking the roles of educators, because that's kind of 5 years out in our future. The last thing, you reminded me of this, but as I heard both of you talk, it's a quote that Chris Lehman, who's a principal in Philadelphia, uses. And it's how our students, Gen Z, sees the world. That is, technology is like oxygen, ubiquitous, necessary, and invisible. That's just it. That's their world. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Amber is going to talk to us a little bit about her favorite learning experiences. So she's going to tell us a few things.
So I've had a lot of good learning experiences, but some of my favorite from this year were in my language arts class. When we did an argument essay, my teacher took the time to really individually come to each student and help them just improve their writing. And while she was doing that with everyone else, everyone was able to work at their own pace and to finish their work and improve on it. Another thing we did was literature circles, which we're doing right now actually. We work in groups and we got to pick what book we wanted. And so I think it's really good because a lot of people don't sometimes miss things, but sometimes your friends or whoever's in your group will point something out that you didn't see before. And I think that's also a great way to learn. We do a lot of group projects also, which for the same reasons I think is really good. We also use Chromebooks pretty much every day in our LA classroom. And well, we use technology all the time. That's just how we are. And we use different websites and videos to help us learn easier and more efficiently. And well, we're not going to pay attention to the teacher lecturing us for almost the whole period because we're middle schoolers. We're not going to pay attention. We also use Google Classroom in all of our classes actually. And that's a good way for us to learn so everyone's on the same task and on the same page. In science, we do experiments pretty much every week, which also relates to what we're learning at the time. And my teacher also has a lot of interesting stories that we don't forget. And in math right now, we also did a couple flipped classrooms, as Mr. Gonella was saying. So we use Khan Academy videos, and then after we watched that video, we would take a quiz on Google Forms to see what we learned and what we need to improve on. In World Civ, we did kind of a modified Genius Hour. It was a little restricted, but it was still really fun to research what we wanted to. We also used Google Earth and maps to help with geography right now with Rome and Italy. And that was really cool because we were able to actually see pictures of famous tourist attractions and mountains and that type of thing. And lastly, I'm in Rogate, which is the GT program, Gifted and Talented program for our school. And I picked to do an independent study where I get to pick anything I wanted to research and put together a project. So I want to do music. And so I wanted to write a song and perform it, which I think is going to be in June. And so we had to pick a mentor, so I used my guitar teacher, and everything else was on my own. And it was really cool because it was very free and I was able to do what I wanted and learn how was best for me.
And Elisabeth is going to talk to us about some of her least favorite learning experiences.
I have some stories to tell. So in high school, as many of you probably know, and in college too, there is a variety of teachers along with their techniques and styles. For example, when I'm talking to my friends in the hallway at the beginning of the year, I went, oh yeah, I have so-and-so for English, and we're working on this right now, and they look at me and go, really? And it just shows how varied the classrooms are, and that from teacher to teacher, everything changes throughout, again, as we get older and from subject to subject. And with these diverse teaching styles, there are bound to be pitfalls as there are to be just a lot of positive experiences. For example, with the the abundance of diverse teaching styles, when, say, I would go for help for math, that my teacher has a specific style, and if, say, the teacher isn't available, even maybe once a week even, that it could be detrimental to my learning experience in math, and I wouldn't be able to get as much as I wanted out of geometry classes I need to. And with the notes too, how some of them may be not as consistent with the quality of others, and how they may have been pulled straight from the textbook depending on which class it is. It just shows that with the lack of information and that we're not getting as much as we need to be, that we're showing students that there's just, it's more formula, and that we need to show these students that there is curiosity in the classroom and to fuel their passion for learning instead of just dampening it. And with the syllabuses too, how we have these given us to end the year, as I'm sure most of you give to your students, that promises are made that, oh, you're going to have your exam date here, these are going to be a list of assignments that we'll have, and that when there's consistency with the syllabus and that things go as according to plan, the grading structure's stuck to and everything's followed to a T, things usually go well. But when they're not, and say we have park testing and there's a break in the calendar that we have in 1 week for review, and then we have 1 week for testing, if we start a unit at the 4 park and then we finish it after those 2 week periods, we have a weaker understanding of the material, and it doesn't provide a strong foundation for us to build on as classes go and go. And going back to diversity, there is an immense positiveness with the diversity materials that we use, from what would be our version of Blackboard PowerSchool learning to using Google Classroom for some classes and going on and on. We're able to create a more cultivated learning experiences for students to use, and that it overall creates a positive learning experience instead of these negative factors creating something that does not help the student.
And Jillian is actually going to talk about the Passion Project, which was something her 3rd grade teacher did. So please keep in mind, those of you who don't have children, 3rd graders are about 8 years old. And so she's going to talk to you a little bit about their Passion Projects.
So the Passion Project is like a Genius Hour, except it's a lot more free. My teacher decided that we could be smart enough to do things by ourselves. So we got to choose any passion that we wanted, anything that made us cheer up and feel good. So I chose video games. And I decided to make a video game storyboard because video game actually making them is a lot harder. And we had to contact an expert who really are good at making them to send them our game. Unfortunately, they never responded, and they were Telltale Games and Cryptic Studios. You probably heard of one of them on a commercial or something. And well, it was hard because we didn't really have any help from anybody. And our teacher's like, you have to do it yourself because this is what you like, this is what you want to do, so you should become an expert in this. And we were really free. We got to walk around the room going to other people's project to see what they were doing. And I have my storyboard right here, if you didn't know what a storyboard was. and we had a level in each little section.
Why do you do the storyboards? From your research, why do you do storyboards?
We do storyboards because it's to lay out your ideas, because you can't just say, oh, for level 1 I want this, but no, wait, on level 2 I want that, and you can't just get them all mixed up. So storyboard kind of organizes it visually.
I'm actually going to put my 2 cents in about the passion project. They invited the parents to go in, and it was in the cafeteria. Every student had to have a poster board, and they had to have a 4-minute speech that they gave us, and we went from station to station. And talk about being absolutely wowed by what they did. They, like she said, they did all the research on their own. They went to different websites, and some of them did. I think one of the girls actually did some painting, and when she contacted the expert, they worked with her, and I think some of her artwork was in the Morris Town Hospital. There was another kid, he decided he was going to start a garden to feed the homeless. It was so impressive, and they all had to do something with it. Another one decided he wanted to do glow-in-the-dark Legos. So, he went and did research and did a sample of it, put the glow-in-the-dark paint over it, and we got to, so it's so impressive seeing it from a 3rd grader. And this was about 6-month projects, and they did time, and they did it all pretty much on their own. I know I didn't have anything to do with it, so they definitely did everything on their own. It was very impressive seeing it from that. Okay, so that's kind of our presentation. I did have a couple questions, so I am going to ask that because we have about 10 minutes or so. So there's one of them is actually relatively quick to say, does the college have a copy of the Horizon Report? We do, and it's actually, you could just Google it and just say Horizon Report Higher Ed, and you can grab it as well. They're really good. They, with like Barry, he showed the infograph, super easy to read and very concise, but it is a very relatively large report, and they've been pretty on pretty good about it in terms of what they expect to be happening. So it's pretty cool. Let's see, another easier one to answer, I think, is how common is it for the students to be assigned school email addresses? And I know middle school does it, and high school, right? It's pretty much
it's actually K-12 in Parsippany. So there are about 7,200 students in Parsippany. Every student has an email address. K-5 is what we call a walled garden. So they can participate in the Google Suite within their domain, within the school, but they can't get stranger emails and they can't send outside the domain. So that's K-5. 6-12 is wide open. Everybody has email.
No, and I know K-5 we don't have emails. Yeah.
We have it starting in 5th grade, and then and it's the same with not being able to get anything from outside and then sending anything to outside.
We started in 4th grade at Copeland, so in Rockaway Township.
So you've gone back.
Yeah.
Getting younger and younger.
Further down.
Okay. There's a question about VR. Are there any challenges to using VR? Do you have any suggestions on how to implement it or which to purchase in apps?
That's for me. So we're just starting. It's kind of, I like looking at technology over time because I can't tell if this is a fad yet or if this is something where all school districts are going to go out and buy 100 classroom sets of each one of these and start using them pervasively. I kind of think it'll be a set shared at a grade level or a school starting right now. I haven't seen, well, there are technology challenges. You have to network and tech support and all those are typical issues. But once you get beyond that, I think the teachers actually enjoying exploring these expeditions on their own with the students is going to be pretty fun to watch over the next couple of years.
And they're relatively inexpensive. I know my girls got these VR goggles for Christmas, and it was pretty cool. I got pretty sick for the roller coasters and things, but it was pretty cool. But they're relatively inexpensive, especially if you do the Google Cardboards. They're really inexpensive.
So there's one of the issues, though. So if you do the Google Cardboards, you're expecting the students to bring their own devices, and there comes the issue. Then we have 30 devices that may not be the same, downloading the app, getting on the network. So I always think if the school could just provide that, and it solves the digital inequalities too, that's probably the better way to go. So those issues we'll see in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. Let's see, there's another one. Is there a shift away from tablets and more toward Chromebooks or apps used on Chromebooks? If so, how else are they used? And do students respond better using Chromebooks? And that's for the both of you, or the kids.
Yeah, in our experience, I think, I believe the students do respond better via the Chromebook. As we mentioned earlier, they were raised with them. That's what they know. A lot of many schools are getting rid of the old, handwriting, chalk and talk. I mean, you barely even see a whiteboard in classrooms any longer. So in terms of what the kids are familiar with, I liken it to a slide ruler. Remember the old slide ruler? My uncle had one at my grandmother's house and took it apart, and we used to hit each other with it. To this day, I have no idea because I had a calculator. I didn't need it. So that's how I view it.
So in 2012, we rolled out iPads to all high school students. So we have about 2,500 out there with high school students, grades 9 through 12 right now. And the teachers, especially in grade 9, call them digital crack, because the students use them a lot for gaming. They download apps, and it's hard to manage. So we are migrating toward Chromebooks. We'll be rolling out the 9th grade with Chromebooks this coming September. We have many more Chromebooks in the district now. As far as apps on the Chromebooks, you need to use Google extensions or Google plugins. A little harder to do games on, and they're more manageable in an academic atmosphere. It allows the teacher to manage what's going on in the academic environment better than on iPad. Apple is a great consumer individual device, but they never really got their act together for education.
Absolutely, yeah. We actually, just to let you know, we do have iPads, have had it since it came out. So we have several faculty members from here who use it. And then here, this is our first active learning classroom, so we actually have laptops for the faculty to use. And they're actually going to be doing a presentation on Professional Day, the pros and cons of this classroom and things like that. So it's very interesting to do that. There was a comment, it's very interesting. It says, the inmate said, I thought it was very telling when Elizabeth's turn came up, she grabbed her phone to review her notes. But does anyone have any questions for our panelists?
Yeah. A question on, you mentioned the coding.
Yes.
What languages are they looking at?
So there are tons of fun things out there. Google puts out their own coding. I'm trying to remember what it is, but it's right in the Google suite that they can go in. And it's not the hard coding that you and I think of. It's object-oriented, more like coding. Yeah. Scratch. It's not like C++ or any of the higher levels. It's more, if you go to code.org even, you can see some kind of coding languages that they use. Khan Academy has another program out there. So within Khan Academy, if you do a Google login, they have tons of courses, and there are about 4 or 5 coding courses. They're not the kind that you and I grow up in, right?
Well, yeah, but in the business world, they're moving more object-oriented coding because, one, it's the labor pool you're starting to get.
Right.
It's what they know. It's also what you're going to end up with.
Right.
You're not going to sit at a desk and have 4 terminals and.
But for I guess what surprises me though, how easy it is for the 4th and 5th graders to just get into coding. Even robotics uses that type of coding, right? Turn left, turn right, go forward. It's very easy and understandable by the kids.
Follow-up question: robotics. Are you thinking of computer-based robotics in terms of this program is going to go do a human function, so I don't have to file my taxes, I don't have to do something? Is that the kind of coding that?
Actually, at that high school math class, so it is much more fun. It's not happening in K through 9 yet. I'm not sure it would, but in the high school, some of that's happening.
Just so you know, I know Jillian, they were doing coding in 3rd grade.
Yep.
Thinking that right here.
Yeah, I just have a question about the use of Google Chrome and the virtual classroom now. I assume they're very tightly integrated, right? Okay. Is there flexibility in the use, or do you have to evolve only within the Google ecosystem? Is there flexibility to use them as you would use, say, a normal laptop outside the virtual classroom?
So, if I understand the question, so when our 7,200 students got Gmail accounts, we enrolled them in what's called the enterprise, the educational version of Google. So our domain is pthsd.net. We control that. We control the emails, we control Google Class, we control everything. It's our enterprise version for the academic setting. So to your question, it's pretty proprietary, but within that environment, it allows a lot of flexibility. Teachers can go ahead and create their own Google Classrooms and all those things within the pthst.net environment.
And actually for here, we actually have quite a few, and we've done workshops in summer student when we did Google Drive. Just, you know, the documents that what we use today with the slides, we all collaborated using that slide. So, and then with our students' emails being Gmails, they have, you know, full access to that as well. Just really, sorry.
Just a real quick question for Mr. Haines. So the students obviously are adapting to the technology probably faster than the faculty. How are the faculty, you know, and I've worked at a university, so how are the faculty adapting? I mean,
well, I think it goes back to something Alfonso mentioned too. Park caused all of our schools to buy Chromebooks or devices, right? He doubled it, tripled it. So you have the technology there, and we are going to expect, if I walk in on an observation, out of the 10 observations I have to do per year, I'd like to see 2 or 3 of them using technology. It's not hard. So the faculty, both with the carrot and the stick, are doing, in my mind, phenomenally well. Integrating a lot. You can see that through the amount of use of Google Classroom. We can look at statistics and see how many sheets or projects or slideshows students have collaborated on and created over the year, and the chart just goes up and up and up.
and are
So
you
really
providing
well.
training
Tons.
for them?
Ongoing. And conferences on the 26th and 27th.
First of all, thank you. This is really helpful, really informative, and actually a lot of fun to sit back and listen to. I want to come back to something that I heard a really great quote. I'm sure I'm going to be using it in some of my meetings ahead about we use technology all the time. That's who we are. That's a really great quote. So let me ask you a little bit, just to imagine forward. What do you think? What do you expect when you come to college? When you go to college, what's that going to look like to you?
I don't
Someone
really
who uses technology all the time.
But I am expecting that we would have a lot of freedom and having a lot of technology available to us if needed. And yeah, I don't really know.
How about you, Elizabeth?
So we too at the high school have the one-to-one initiative, but for Chromebooks. And when we graduate from senior, unless anything happens that it gets taken away, we graduate with it. So I would expect to be able to use technology within the classroom as well as having the Blackboard frequently updated with presentations or extra worksheets or any sessions that could be helpful to the learning experience and our success.
Jillian, how about you? Do you have any ideas?
Well, not really.
It's 3 o'clock, so I know there's some questions, but if you have some questions, email me. I will be more than happy to reach out to them, and they're always so wonderful to give back. So I'm volunteering their times again. But I do want to say something. It was very interesting. Rob, my husband, had a conversation with one of Amber's teachers, and throughout the conversation, one of the things that they talked about was multiple choice questions. And they said that actually because the way the students are taught now and their expectations, they really don't work through multiple choice questions as we did before, because it's actually a skill set. As much as people want to curse or like or dislike Common Core, the way that that is mandating teachers to teach is a different way. Students are expected to problem solve. Students are expected to show their work and their thinking process. So so that's something to think about, because I know here I work with a lot of faculty members, and multiple choice is the way that they assess. So I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was a very interesting comment by a 6th grade teacher regarding that, because I would never even consider that. But anyway, I want to thank you, and we've got some sweatshirts for and of course there's CCM shirts, Thank you. But thank you so much for the panel. Thank you so much for taking your time, because I know you guys are really